is amazing and really good. It's got one or two people coming in at the back. My name is Carol Johnson.
I'm Pat Alexander.
And I'm Penny Townsend.
And we're the three ladies that have worked together to write the Manual Handling of Children's second edition. And we wanted this session to be practical. I'm going to put up the next slide just because this is practical. We do need to look after you. We do want you to feel safe. So do what you want to do. Don't do what you don't want to do. Don't get close if you don't want to get close. We want to look after you, but we want you to do some learning. And I think that's something that's come across, is that the practical and doing things together has been more difficult, hasn't it? So my session isn't going to be practical. You'll understand why, but you're going to rotate in three groups. See how long you last before you fall over. And we'll rotate clockwise, but if you can stay in your group, I think is probably the best thing to do. So we'll do a quick head count in a minute when Pat's going through her slides, and we'll just sort of divide you up. But feel free to ask questions as you're going along. And the sort of rule of thumb that I always have is, if you think that it's an absolutely silly question, go for it, because they usually completely spot on. And if we do things like use acronyms and you go, yeah, I don't know what they're on about, challenge us, because I keep thinking I don't use acronyms. And even something as simple as HOP7, you meet people who go, I don't know what that is. And he can do it for you sometimes. So please do ask us, do share your ideas. Now, one of the rules I always have in these sessions is, if somebody comes up with something incredible and your first thought is, oh my golly, what planet they've been living on, I would never do that. Okay, hold it, because I've learnt so many times over the years, sometimes there's interesting things that have to happen, and we do have our rules and we do have a background, but one thing is, if someone's been brave enough to say, actually I do X to get so and so from here to here, and then the people around them go, well, that's terrible, I'm reporting you, it means they close down and you don't change anything, and then that person becomes more polarised. Well, I had to do what I had to do, and it becomes a negative experience. So if somebody does say something and you're thinking, well, I never do that and I'm sure that needs reporting, bring it up in a different way and have a chat about it. So let's look after each other, let's support each other, and let's expand our knowledge. Thank you.
I'm not saying anything. Are you saying something?
Yeah, you're saying something.
I'm just a comedy.
Yes. One thing I am going to say is, the hoist I have, as I am now retired, is what I took with me. And it is very old. I'm thinking of taking it to the repair shop. And I should probably say to them, well, I want to hand it on to my grandchildren. I love that, don't you? Hand it on to their grandchildren. What do they think their grandchildren want with a 90-year-old swagger stick, please? But this, I think, is really a work of art. Packs into the car, it's light, it doesn't need charging, and it goes down fairly well. So that's why I use it. But I don't want to use it all day. But I don't think in a demo where we're just trying things out that anybody is going to get hurt. But clearly, as mine is relatively practical, I don't want anybody doing anything they're not comfortable with. If you're pregnant or wanting to be pregnant or whatever. Don't worry. The vaccination has no effect on that, remember. Fertility, do you not know? Oh, if you have the vaccination, you might have a baby.
Oh, yeah. It makes you infertile, apparently.
Okay.
Pat, are you talking about your little bit now?
Well, I will, yes. But do you want to say?
Well,
anything?
I thought we should say what we're actually doing in the practical sessions, because Carol didn't say what she's doing. I didn't say what I was doing. So.
Say what you're doing, Carol.
So I'm doing standing frames.
So I'm going to do just a range of shizzle on the floor.
I'm going to do seated, transverse and sit to stand. So, just very quick. This is what we have among all the stuff. I had to have help unloading my car. It was just like the old days, it was great. So this is what we've got: a large ball, several small chairs, a hoist, and lots of different slings. Some of the exhibitors have been very kind and lent me some of their different sort of slings. We've got a couple of wheelie stools, turning disc, a long-handled handling belt, a manual handling sling, as in using it manually. So that's what we intend doing, and I've written up the things that we're going to be working to, which are, I want, to try all. We're going to rotate, you understand, so you're going to be getting something of each of us. I want you to look at it when you do it, try anything, see what works, and then think about, is it risky for the handler? How much help do you need from the child? Then maybe how much skill is needed. So come up with some answers. That's what I want. I want discussion, I want trial, I want hands-on. Isn't it wonderful? I loved that talk this morning about how it needs to be hands-on. Can you imagine having to do what we've done for the last 18 months for the rest of your life?
No, it just doesn't work.
No. Okay, I'm done.
Okay, so how many people have we got?
I counted roughly 26.
Yeah, it's about 8 and whatever. 8, 9.
So a team, of roughly 8-ish, please. And I always love joining up with people I don't know, because you'll find.
We could give them a number.
Oh, they're big enough to get into it, aren't they?
Can you get
I
into
can do this.
So if you get into.
Or we could give them a name of an
I'll have the front 2 rows if you like. I'll have the front 2 rows over here.
Yeah.
By the time they've decided how to do it, it'll be time to finish.
Matt's over there, Penny's at the back, I'm at the front. You'll need to bring your chairs if you're coming to my bit first.
So, this is what we have. We have a kneeling stool. Is this something you're all familiar with? Be careful because it's a fold-up one. If you pinch your fingers with your bum in there, you will know. So you have been,
Pull up a chair and come on.
and you know that it goes sloping down to the front, and the idea is that it's not perfect, but I actually can still get into this position, whereas I cannot do it. I spent most of my working life sitting on my heels. I just cannot do that now. Cannot do it. This I can get down. So just be careful with that. So we're looking at the handlers. We can get up reasonably well from the floor. I've got slide doors, I've got chairs, I've got wheelie stools for you guys. A rather nice wheelie box that I've got for nursery things. And I've got full. So what we're looking at is, among this group, I would like you to look at getting your child up from sitting to standing. And then I would like you to look at getting them from sitting position to another. So just choose your kit, do what you like. There's all kinds of things. For those of us who have delicate knees, is this something any of you use? Oh, they are brilliant, absolutely brilliant. Yeah, I keep it just for work. Depends how fat your thighs are, how muscular and developed your quads are. But it really can make a difference if you've got tender knees. I've been recommended to have a replacement on this one, but I said 75 is far too young. What will I do when I need another one when I'm 85? So I like these. Okay.
Where are they from?
Amazon, about £8 or £9, or the garden shop, about 15 quid. They come in beautiful colours, light pink, lime green. Oh, lovely. Yes, they do come in handy. If you've got staff that are working in school in the toilet, kneeling down all the time, it's very painful on those hard floors in toilets. So I often recommend those. Okay, off you go. So we'll put the hoist.
How able is the child?
Your child, you choose.
Okay.
Because we're looking at
So what I'm hoping is that you will be able to look at
which
it.
one requires most assistance for the child. So you might say, this one is really suitable for a child who is able to cooperate, but I wouldn't use it for somebody who's very dependent. So you choose the transfer, you work it up.
Because I know these
Dolls, slings, more dolls, more seats, and I've got almost the whole of my training bag over here. Wedges.
we're not there to criticise them.
So I want you to get down on the floor, ladies. And we've got 2 dolls. I would like you to. Oh, and I have the big ball. Have any of you ever used a ball for transfers? Oh, right. I'll just demonstrate that one. I'll move this over here. I have 1 doll here. I need another chair. Off you go, Toby. That kind of mother, you know the kind. It takes quite a lot of skill. Being so old and actually worked on Dr. Boback. And I know he's been dead a long time. I do know this. But as a physio, I used to use him quite a lot. So it depends how many you are, how much help. The ability of the child, but if you can get this child to lean forward over the ball, and again, this will take skill to manoeuvre the ball into the right place. Do quite a nice transfer. I didn't invent that. I learned it from a healthcare assistant in school, and I thought, wow. She worked in the nursery section, and because you do not want to be hoisting them all the time when they're really tiny. Time enough to, yes, I believe in hoisting them when they're tiny. When you've got a whole class of children and you're moving, for the right child and the right carer, that can work quite well. So, okay, so that's the ball. So I would like you to work out how to get the child first to stand. Okay.
So put your left hand here, your right hand here. And if you say because they don't know here. So that's not
Anybody going to have Toby? Yeah, I think they're using those. You might. Oh, I have got a little tiny one. Oh, here's another little one. It's very small, isn't it? Sorry. It's my granddaughter's thing when it comes to us. So, are you going to be getting him? Are you putting him down into the chair? Is that part of your demo?
No, we started from the
Right, just stick him in the chair.
Sitting to stand.
the experts and the people who make it.
He's about 20 years old, that dog. And considering I'm not an OT, I don't think that's too bad. But if you look, he's got surgery, he's obviously had phlebotomies. Right, so what are we going to do? Get him standing up? What are we going to do?
What's his ability?
Well, if you're going to stand him up, I presume he can wait there.
Yeah. He can wait, but he just can't get out of the chair himself.
So we need encouragement. And it's not as like
Have you seen one of those?
No.
This is the little.
Yeah, little tiny walking one.
Yeah.
Oh my God.
You find them on Amazon, they're mostly from China. I'm not suggesting that's where you should get it, because there is a proper
I
one,
don't think I'll
but
procure
it's
it
much more expensive. But you get the idea. This is not a string puppy. This is so that you don't have to help them get out of the chair or walk them down here. Okay, have a look at that. So, are we going to get him out from the chair to standing with this? Are we going to use a sling? We've got, yeah, we've got lots and lots of Paediatrics slings here. You've got a hug. We've got, what else have we got?
That's interesting.
That's a new diamond.
So that would go.
Yeah, around his
That's the new. Have you tried it?
I've never seen that.
It's quite comfortable. I sat in it yesterday. Not that one.
No. Should we have them? Yes, I've seen it.
It's Kevin Penn's one.
I'm curious to see what that's like.
Okay. He hasn't got much gluteal mass. That's the trouble with ragdolls. They don't make
No,
them.
I need to push your hips back.
Yeah.
So did you say you used that?
No, I saw the adult one yesterday.
Yeah.
Just like these away.
everyone just says things like
So we're going to do a transfer, a seated transfer, are we? Because you can't get them to standing in that, can you? No, you can't get them to standing. So it's got to be a seated transfer.
So why don't we use that? Did we want to use this one then, a seated? Okay, mine, I'm curious to see something that I haven't seen before, but also meet the brief.
The old hoist is behind you guys, and it is not loaded because it's not used for real people.
So we need to get the people who train back into break it down, think it through.
So we're looking at somebody who's relatively dependent.
And
So am I
We're looking at somebody who Who needs this kind of assistance. It does go right down, all the way
So
down.
asking a silly question, so the belt is
Not silly question.
prevent it's chest strap.
Yeah, we can do that. You don't always have those on them, but some do. No, this one, it has an extra head support, the belt goes on. That hook and look trademark. You're not allowed to use the word belt. How many people would you normally need for this transfer? Now, it's not a real transfer, so I understand, but could you do it on your own, do you think, this transfer? If he's little, you might want to sit on a...
If he's very contracted.
A stool, because that crouch position is a killer. You really don't want to be doing that. Nor do you want to be sitting on your knees in a chair. Just listen to what I say, not what I've done. Because I've done that for years, and look at my knees. Yeah. It's just like an ordinary sleeve, except it doesn't have binding around here. And that is comfortable, and they tested it on pressure mapping. And I was surprised, because I wasn't sure about that diamond up in the coccyx area, but it was quite comfortable. And he's got the, oh no, this hasn't got the anti-spasm. He's got the anti-spasm on this one. Okay, let's get the hoist out. Anybody want to practice with the doll and the ball? Yeah, we do. Is this something you've done? That's how you did it. If you've got kids that are used to it, it's great because you've got it in the room, you've got children who are used to it, you've got staff who are used to it, because the only time we're actually taking photographs is the first and the last bit. The rest of the time we're on the ball. Obviously you need staff who are skilled enough to turn around and manipulate it with a child. So probably not for a big child. Yes.
Oh my goodness. We got one of those in our training room, but a bigger one.
Maybe we've put them on the wrong.
This one longer.
Sorry, we didn't look after him very well. Sorry about that.
Don't sue us on the long one and that one on the
That's the only thing that the mum could use.
Here we go. Now he's nervous to go in it because we've just hit him in the face.
And it was such a shame that who was continually changing terms.
No, we need to look after
And
then it's getting 20. Where are we going? Bits and pieces.
he was going to go the wooden chair there. He's going in the wooden chair.
Yeah, that's better. So there is also this thing, there's a Velcro on there, so if you needed head support, you can have head support in there as well.
I prefer the hooded ones. So
Yes.
Yes, there's another hands.
yes, oh, brilliant. But you can't change that one.
So were we not meant to get into standing?
I think we changed it and decided to
That's quite nice.
chairs very good for women. They slip out.
Go in at the side, yeah.
Yes, that's very good.
I had visions of her and mum falling downstairs. Basically, she wanted to stay up there for a while.
I said to her, which is a good
Yeah, Yes, we try. Yeah, I imagine it's the same with
When she was
but obviously I don't want to go on. I've only seen them, but they go on a week.
I do show on times, yeah. I've been doing
This is to hold toddlers.
This one, is he too small for that?
It's not a lot of weight for the caregiver or the
and this is where, but I guess it means that
they have to have some ability.
The doll, the child.
I manage
You roll it towards them and you kind of lean them. I've never seen this. And then we've only just taken over thoughts. So the only time you'll have to care anyone at all is
I'm the
when it's half
I'm
on
an adult now, so not.
But then you've got to learn how to. So the staff aren't used to it. You need them to practice it. But it's so nice, isn't it?
I don't know how much.
So I had something similar.
No,
So my daughter when she's
yeah, to have an age group, just don't know.
But I used to use it
when
when
she
she
was
was
one.
So you just
yeah, when she was
Probably
starting.
needs a lot of
is that what
skill.
you do? Just hold them.
Not
Yeah,
necessarily
it saves you
doing this. Sister, a child.
Yeah, so I suppose you can just.
So you remember the ones that bounce in the door? Well, I used to have one of those for my daughter, but I used to hold it like that for when she was walking. Because I had a really bad back after I had her for quite some
They'd
time.
probably be a bit taller than this, wouldn't they?
Yeah, they would, yeah. But it did work quite well.
On a bench. When I was
You know,
around,
They sat at those short and really bad.
Does it have a weight load?
That's not pressure being
Have a safe word,
but I didn't want to be
in the doorway.
Can I say why they don't make them for, some of the other sleep companies don't make them?
the child can the size of the child.
When you watch the video clips, it's important to try and work out what skill level you've got in the team and what skill level you need, and the two don't always match. So I'll get you to look at the clips and you can tell me what skill level you think the staff ought to be. So novice is, they've never done it before. Advanced beginner, they've had a little bit of training. Competent, they've worked with a particular child lots. Proficient, they've worked with lots of similar children. And expert, they make everything look easy. Okay? Time obviously is another measurement tool. Risk matrix to look at the risk, but be really careful with the risk matrix. A lot of the people I work with just go, oh, it's high risk, and that doesn't work. You've got to say what's the likelihood of injury and the consequences of injury, and what actually are you looking at. Okay, so with standing frames, it's really hard to get kit into places, but it's such a big part of a child's life. The benefits are enormous. Weight bearing, getting the weight through the legs, reducing the risk of demineralization of the bones. It's so good for interacting in the class and being involved with things that are going on. And the last little clip, she's delighted to be upright and to have some freedom of movement. So it's really important. We do tend to think, manual handling, we've got to get the manual handling right and good and it's got to be safe. But actually the child just wants to do stuff. And we need to balance that all up. Okay, so I'll take you straight to the clips.
Memory foam, Amazon about £8, garden shop about
So that's
really useful, really nice and soft the foam, and it makes a big difference. I find especially for minors who are working in a toilet.
try and get rid of. Okay, so I'll start this one off. So this is a young lady who has global delay. She has seizures, significant seizures. Communication is difficult. What else can I tell you about her?
Any of you use these for transfers?
So she's got increased tone in her legs, decreased tone in her upper body.
Very maternal. Now, actually,
So can you pick up already?
I come to think of it,
something they haven't done?
This was taught me by an LSA in a reception class, and it was a special needs reception class.
Something they haven't done.
Needed a lot of help to move.
So she's going into a standing frame, supine stander.
And I can understand how she felt.
Yeah.
So she
And that was the pressure of being videoed. Because they haven't got the supine stander in the lying position.
but using the ball, if you're used to a ball, you get your child.
So watching this, from the skill level, what skill level do you think they would need to be to do this safely? So she has got brittle bones, so she's at high risk of fractures.
But now their weight is being taken almost until they sit down. So it's quite a nice way to do it, isn't it? So if you haven't done that, have a go with the ball. But the person we're looking at, we're looking at somebody who's quite skilled in the ball, and they don't need on.
So I'll move that one on.
We don't want somebody who's got dysfunction. We don't want somebody who's
So what skill level do you think you need? Yeah. And do they both need to be competent and proficient? Yeah. You wouldn't have a novice doing this, not even. I wouldn't even go for a competent and an advanced beginner. It's got to be too competent. And this is the easy young lady, okay? So we're going to move on to a more complex situation. So just so that you can see, there we go.
We've got this one, you know the hug, but some people will be easier to move. Anybody use the hug?
So she has lots of cotton wool padding put on her knees and shins.
I like this because it's a standing scene. It's not under the groin. And you know how you've been putting.
So the previous group said that
Oh, I've got a pair of lift pads.
they have to work with lots of children. They don't have H-frames and supine standers. But I think one of the things that we need to do is we need to push for the right kit and equipment. There's part of it that says you've got to work with what you've got, but that shouldn't mean that if it's not really good enough that you stop there. And you can use your tools to raise the profile. I find that works really well for me. If I can say, well, you've got a REBA score of this, an effort score of this, you need a skill level of this, but you can change that by using a different piece of kit. So I'll just move them along.
So you've got to have some kind of ladder right there.
We tend to do it from sitting on the edge of a small therapy bench to a larger therapy bench in front, rather than straight off your knee.
So one of the comments from the last group was that why put the tray on now? I don't actually know, but why do you think they might be putting the tray on at this stage instead of once she's upright?
Or what do you recommend it for?
It might be arms, yeah. Yes, could be. Sometimes something to, and so this young lady doesn't come up to fully upright because she can't handle it. But sometimes it's just the mechanics of the getting it in. It sticks when you're trying to get it in that way, which seems odd. So that's that young lady. Now we're going to get more complicated.
Quick question. 14-year-old child weighs 13 stone.
So this next young lady is on 24-hour feeds. So you can't disconnect the feed. You've got to include that. She has athetoid movements. So she has fluctuating tone. She's very vocal. It's very clear what she thinks about things. If she gets overexcited, she starts sort of thrashing about. And she has got her hand wrapped around the tube before now and put tension on it. So if you thought the last one was competent heading towards proficient,
And they said, well, how many people will it
see
take
how you feel.
to manoeuvre this young man out of his electric chair into an evac chair to get him downstairs? What do you think? Sorry?
So you've got a spreader bar. What do you think about spreader bar?
He was a bit shorter than me and he weighed 13 stone. Oh, okay. So he's a big boy. Yeah. He's a big boy.
Yes, there's a lot of arm flailing. I think there was probably more than normal because she was very excited about being filmed.
Yeah, I was called in to do the risk assessment and they wanted my name on it.
But when she's transferred, the rest of the class are doing something else in another room to try and keep it calm and quiet.
I said 5 because the difficult thing isn't the straight lift.
So not only they've got to look after her, they've got to look after the bag.
Is manoeuvring the chair. So all you do is stand up straight while somebody brings the chair. That's ridiculous.
So give us the level. Still competent or something else?
Then we've got to get him down 3 flights of stairs. So they absolutely said that is not.
I think it's certainly
That is my opinion.
heading that way, and we'll see what you think about the next bit.
If he heard the fire bell, he would run in from his shed, go upstairs against all the other kids running down. So I said, so be it. It is what it is. And you know, when I went there another year, about a year later.
And I think actually those type of movements do panic a lot of new staff.
So that has its use, but it is limited use.
Because there's no warning, there's no prediction. Just because one arm's gone one way, in 1 second it might go a different way. But you can see she's wanting to be engaged, she's wanting to see where she's going. Now she's going, oh, they're taking forever.
Or doing a practice.
Can't they get on with it?
They do a fire drill, brittle bones drive. Are you going to put them in the...
Yeah, she is very vocal.
You know, the number of staff in school who say yes. I can't believe it.
So this is a young lady I've known from being a little dot. I still can't get over how tall she is. So again, they're putting on the table at this point. I'm pretty sure with this young lady it is so that they know where her arms are and they're not going to catch them, but I don't think that was necessarily the case with the last young lady.
Brittlebone child who's now at university in Dublin and in primary school they just kept her downstairs.
So I'll stop that one because then we're going to go
It should be done. But some schools and the parents don't
into a walking frame. So
mainstream school.
now have a look at this one. I'll let this one run. So we've now got 3 people involved,
It's not really.
and I would say, so my job was bag lady,
Anybody want to practice moving the doll from...
and I felt the responsibility, I have to say.
What about this? What do you need? What circumstances? What abilities? What kind of chair do you need to use that?
Surfaces and pretty good upper body strength.
Have you come across these type of walking frames? Yeah, you have.
Not
No.
a molded chair, not one with fixed
What do you think of the benefits of
They don't seem to have
being in something that can move around?
now. Do you find out? So that
We just found that the wheelchairs and the issue don't
Yeah.
facilitate use.
And you'll see how pleased she is about it in a minute. So independent mobility, getting a child in and out of them is not easy, and you'll see that in the next stage.
of disabled children.
You know, we're very clever, we're saving them.
And also they're very expensive pieces of kit that they then grow out of.
Who survive at a birth weight.
And at the moment it's very difficult to get repairs and replacements.
1 out of the 10 will develop to be neurotypical.
So I don't know how any of you are finding lots of situations where you can't even get a wheelchair repaired at the moment.
So, you know, we're increasing. I'm not saying it's wrong, I'm just saying the work is increasing.
Yeah.
Because the repairers aren't doing visits into community alone.
So they are coming out into the community more. They can't get the parts.
Anybody got a child ventilated in mainstream? Yeah. I went to school last year too.
Extra care, pull a long trolley behind them.
So what can we do?
So
Now, do you know
we had some queries in the last group about whether this was the best method
they say that a cockroach is the only thing that will
of getting her in.
the atom bomb. Wrong. This will survive the atom bomb.
It looks like Romeo was having hydro.
I know. I like it.
So remember, she's not hanging there. She is supported on a little seat.
Remember, I was working for myself, so I used to sting it in my car and take it out to a different venue every time. It goes down quite low, it goes on forever. It has not been lowered because we're only using it for dummies. Okay,
So you now got the lady at the front who's having to kneel on the floor.
as long as you remember how to let.
So this happens every day.
It's also useful in the fire thing, because if you have got a child and you've got a stick and there's a fire, you do not want to go to the cupboard where you keep the hoist and find it's not being charged. So a really useful piece of equipment for that, isn't it? Okay. Haven't we?
One thing that we find particularly difficult is those children in between.
Okay, so the previous group said, why didn't you use a walking harness? Why do you think
Kind of with September, so
we didn't?
children go to preschool that have some standing ability.
She was on an in-situ sling, yeah.
And they're in a lovely wheelchair that's this high off the floor. Yeah. Well, no, you push them, and they can do a sliding transfer out.
I don't know, I do paediatrics,
That's right, get back in.
but I kind of have this vision of, because of her movements in a sort of a pair of pants,
Just like they're doing a standing
harness
transfer
thing,
with
that
their feet
she then is at
on a
risk
therapy
of
bench, which they can
tipping
do.
and falling backwards.
Yeah, so lift pants was one idea, but we weren't convinced that she wasn't shearing her peg on that, and there wasn't enough stability at the side, so we felt she could have a movement and then get wrapped up in the straps, but she's loving this.
Some kids do need special needs schools.
She is so happy.
Mainstream schools are finding that time to get back into
My
the chair.
granddaughter's a very severe Downs, and she's just started school this year. She has no speech.
She's squealing in all of this. So, yeah, one of the biggest issues of this is there's a bit of metal sticking out here, so she opened and tinkered her hand. And these cables that come across here, they turn up. So with her movements, actually getting her in it, because they're up, I don't know if you remember, but at the beginning there, we're all trying to get around and past it. We don't know why the manufacturer, they haven't turned them down. But one of the things that's important in these situations is people don't go back to the manufacturer, they just survive. And that's really important that we take things back to the manufacturer, because there may be a very good reason why it has to turn up, but there might not be.
Why we're just on the wrong side. I've seen that so often.
Yeah.
It's just a different side and it works the other way.
Yeah. Yeah. So what skill level do you think you need for this one?
I'm not looking where they're going. But so much it can
Scale go higher.
so useful, isn't it? If you're helping
Somebody who's learning to
key
work
points or
with
whatever.
paediatrics,
Some of the
I don't think I would
methods and people using
that
intervention
without
schools of
full
thought.
supervision, lots of training,
Would yeah.
expert staff around to talk through the process, to have those discussions.
Yeah, would you be prepared to be bag lady?
Absolutely.
Yeah. So bag lady's okay.
Yeah.
Yeah. Kate, where would you?
So we have
Proficient. Yeah. Yeah. So, and all the children in that class need that level. So there's six children in that class that all need that level of support. So, okay.
I guess if they're doing it every day and it's only like those 6 children,
Do you know something like this? Now, this is a very cheap
Yeah.
Chinese version. There is a very nice one
Yeah.
made in England.
because they have that
And you can
transfer that
this is
learning
not,
everywhere else.
this is not
No.
weird.
But the some schools I go into, they don't have you were in a class one year, you may not be in it next year. So I had a school that they transferred a young man and they only needed 2, and in September they needed 5. And so they asked me to go in. They said we can't have 5 staff, so we either need a change of kit or we need a change of something. So I said, well, who was doing this transfer last year? So it was a transfer onto a change bed. And they went, we'll call her Sophie. So I said, let's go and get Sophie. They got Sophie, and the first thing Sophie did was started singing. And I was thinking, slightly strange. And I went, why are you singing? And she said, well, if you sing this song, he knows then he's going to the bathroom. Got back down to 2, that's all it needed. No fancy kit. But that, it was not written on the risk assessment because they'd looked at the load, the environment, but they didn't put the key thing in of sing the song. So going back into her chair, so this is why we don't use a specialist standing sling with her, because she's got all of these different transfers that happen and we can't get the slings in and out, and we can't leave her in her chair with some of the walking harnesses and the interference with her peg. So here's me asking, what do you want me to do? Where do you want me to be? This is quite a scary moment. So this is a school that takes manual handling seriously. So you see what she's doing with her arms.
So we've got a little boy of ours with it, and that includes him. That's on his Facebook page, yeah. So he's doing his GMFCS 5, so he's doing Easter egg looking at the garden with Dad. It's hard work, yeah. You can walk like this. Dad was just choosing to go down there. Yeah.
So you've got to get her arm round the straps. So that's a regular feature.
But psychologically, and I'm not knocking it because that's what families want.
Families purchase them privately or through some charity funding. We just have an assessment kit that they can go through.
So I asked them for this one to score their effort, and they scored it at 15, which is quite high. So what suggestions, if this was, let's say you'd got people who are saying we can't manage 15, a score of 15, what advice would you offer them? Where would you go next? Because I think from the first group, a lot of people would say we're not even at this stage yet, you know, we haven't got this type of kit, we're still manually lifting into prone standers. So how would you fight for this team? Or has it got to a point where you say, well, this is how it is? That's the best you can do.
The children I look after are really small preschoolers, GMFCS 5, so they'll set you up really hard down here to kind of get some weight bearing and kind of moving into half sitting over your knee. And it is kind of, you do a lot more kind of in long sitting, kind of down here.
Yes. Yeah.
Not many people can sit like this for long. 5 minutes
Yeah.
and I'm done. I just can't
Yeah.
cope with it.
So there does come a point where you say this is the best that we can do. But my advice for them would be, okay, when you look at changing your tracking or if you've got to change your spreader bar, go for the one with the 2 straps. We keep an eye out for new slings. We rotate the staff. We have regular meetings about what activities they're doing in a day and what we can, if we can make any adjustments there. And the staff are very good of if they're struggling, they say straight away. So they won't just go, oh, I can't say anything. They will bring it up, and then we will look at that individual person. And so I do lots of individual assessments of the staff at this school. And there isn't a culture of them not saying. They will say, which is really, really good.
Oh, just add the peas on, and you know, like it's just the same, only a bit smaller.
So that's and you know, for her, I was really glad to be able to get that photo because she's very, very happy in an upright position and whizzing around. Do you want to ask me anything about standing frames? I mean, that's a very fast, whizzy tour, and I know that everybody's not necessarily got that sort of kit. But what's your overall? So you're saying you're doing a lot. Anybody else doing some? Yeah. So I found with standing frames, I don't don't ever teach this in a general session. I always do it with them because there's so many different bits of kit. There's no point in doing a. And don't be surprised at, sometimes it's the basic things that catch people out. So the classic thing with prone standers that I come across is that the child's got an AFO, so a support, plastic support in their shoe, and the staff are trying to get them into a prone stander where the foot plates are tipped forward. So you're sort of trying to make the child stand into this prone stander with their feet pointing down, as it were. And then they say, this child doesn't like going into the prone stander. And you go, well, no. Have you tried standing up on tippy toes, with your feet fixed? So that's a very simple, straightforward one that you can look at. I would try and go to a supine. One way you can get around it, some of the prone standers have, so some of the prone standers, they are flexible, the foot bits. So, and another thing that I do is they go on a change bed, which is much higher, so they're going down into it, is another possibility. Okay, we need to move on. Thank you very much.
And I look really dishevelled now because that was all tucked in and neat and my bow was all tied, and now I'm just, anyway, who cares? I think I'm still waiting for, are you part of this group? Right, so good afternoon. No, are we afternoon now? Good morning still. So I'm Penny Townsend, I'm a moving and handling advisor, paediatric physio. So some of what we're going to talk about today is getting you to have a go as well at some of the things, but looking at stuff on the floor, okay? So we'll start with, how many of you all work in paediatrics or have got an interest in paediatrics, trained paediatric therapy staff? You're a very difficult audience, I've got to say. Physios are nightmares. Yeah, we are. Yeah, we are. We are. I can say that because I'm a physio. I wouldn't say it if I wasn't a physio. So, oh God, I've got more things to fall over now. Often we see sort of kind of little ones on the floor. If they're not being hoisted, people obviously lifting and picking them up. And you might see really bad stuff. But generally what people do is they come down onto the floor and they pick the child up like that. So they overreach. Principles doesn't apply because your load is away from you, and then bring it in and then stand up and go from there. Okay, so I try to teach our staff to think of a different way of doing it, and you're all going to do this on one another if you're happy to do it on one another, all right? So I actually ask our staff to come behind, all right? So if they come behind, they're not going to pick the child up by the head, so let's just be clear. So what they're going to do is a lot of children with disabilities lose the ability to do a chin tuck. So actually all I'm going to do is facilitate a chin tuck and bring my knees in behind him, so he's then resting on my knees. Obviously, when we do this on one another, I won't be able to get you onto my knee. And then if he's able to sit, I can actually just walk him forwards with my knees to sit him up, and then I can bring him to there to then change my position, either if he can weight bear to block and stand, but if he can't, I would then sit him here, and from then a carrying point of view, children ended up being carried in all sorts of funny positions, which is not necessarily good for them. So what I teach our staff to do is the guitar position. So it's a hand there and a hand there, and then from that point of view his weight is more evenly distributed, and I can then come up into standing. Really good one I teach the parents for carrying children up and down the stairs that haven't got adaptations at home. Obviously the one thing you do have to be careful of is that you're not bashing their heads as you go through the door or getting their legs. So I like this position as well, because obviously from a physio point of view I can give them a sneaky stretch. With our school staff, if they're carrying them like this or picking them up, they're doing a physio activity without thinking that they're doing a physio activity. Because sometimes when you say to the staff, oh, you've got to do the physio programme, they do it, you can see that, oh, but we've got to do this. So actually we can build into the physio with the handling as well. I like it because he can see where he's going. He can't bite me, he can't spit on me, he can't headbutt me. I told the other group I had a session with a boy in a hydro pool, and I'd been swishing him in the water and then needed to turn him, and I turned him round in the water to put him on the other side, and he pulled my swimsuit down and then bit my arm all at the same time. So it was that like, oh, what do I do? So that's a really good position because they can't bite you. So never move them. Once they're there, never move them. So that's a really nice lift. So would somebody like to be my model, and I will get you into sitting?
I'll be your model.
Come on then. You're a physio. I knew you would.
Yeah. Can I extend them?
No. So just lie down so I can get to your head. Now, if she's not going to sit up, it's fine, because actually all I wanted to do is to get my knees under to get them onto my knee. But if you're going to sit up, that's fine. I'll try not to kneel on your hair as well.
Yeah, I'll tuck it away.
Yeah. So all I'm going to do is initiate, what's your name?
Angela.
I'm going to initiate Angela's chin tuck there, and I'm going to come up in underneath her. So if they were little, I can then get them on my lap. I'm going to see if I can take you up into sitting. So I'm going to come onto her shoulders now and just walk her forwards, or walk me forwards to get her into sitting. And that was quite easy. Okay, shall I just show you that again? Watch your hair. Okay, so chin tuck, and it's just, you're not lifting the head, you're not pulling it, and then it's just a hands on the shoulders and just come forwards. So if you don't want to be filmed but you want to do it, go over there. But I'd suggest have a go, because you need to feel it. Knock yourselves out. It's all about doing practical stuff. If you don't want to do it, it's fine, but I suggest you have a go if you. Okay.
Just been trying to explain, do moving and having for adults.
Yeah.
But then I'm not working for one learn peeps and
Yeah.
do peeps.
Yeah.
So I want to know how much training I need. What this
Okay. Yep. Yep. Do it. If they're not, what I would say is, if they're not going to sit up, don't force them to sit up. That's it. Head on first. That's lovely. It's lovely. If it works, it works. If it doesn't work, but the thing is, I wouldn't necessarily sit the children up. I only want to get them so that I can get them onto my knee. It's not necessarily about sitting them up. Sometimes it is.
It can do. The only problem sometimes is if they push, then
Yeah.
you bend their knees up there. Yeah, and those with extensive tone, that wouldn't work either very well. They don't bend in the
So with those types of children that Angela's describing, all I do is I do that to just get them head onto my knee, so I can get my hands under their chest wall to just drag them back onto me. I'll show you again with the teddy bear. That's it. And move with them. You need to go with them, because you would leave them behind.
I'll pretend I've got no head control.
All right.
That's better. Yeah. So you have to stay. If you're going to take them into sitting, you have to stay with them. But I'll show you again just with the teddy, so that you sort of kind of can get the idea if you're not taking them into sitting. I'm not going to do the tapping today. Did you want me to? Did you? No, but I wasn't meant to do sort of postural tone stuff today. But if we've got time, I could do the tapping. So obviously you don't throw the children on the floor. So it is that bring the head in to there. If you're not going to sit them because they can't sit because whatever of their tone is, or is it then I get them here, and it's just to bring them onto your knee. Again, ask them if they can join in. Maybe they might be able to put their feet down and help slide themselves up. It depends on their cooperation and cognitive levels, really. But then, for me, it's that position there, because that's more stable than any position where you might carry like that, or like that, on the hip. So the guitar position is a really, really good one. Now where have I put it? I keep moving and losing things. So if they are heavier, I mean, I'm really lucky where I work that our therapy staff are really good and that the children generally come into the schools already being hoisted because they'll have made that assessment and there'll be adaptations going on in the house. This is our manual lifting sling that I use regularly for if we are struggling to get somebody to engage in terms of doing moving and handling, special situations like for children going out into the community for activities. So in the book, I think some of the case studies are based on doing a manual lift with a sling. I've got a young girl who in Lincolnshire that I see to train her staff, and she actually has a sling from, it was Lynch Healthcare, but they've been taken over, which is an in-situ sling with manual lifting handles, but also lifting loops as well. So if she's in the community and they find a hoist, they can hoist her. But if they can't find a hoist, they've still got the handles to lift her out and do personal care. Because one of the things it's still so limited is the places to do personal. Yeah. I mean, and it's better than it was, but you know, you still hear stories of people saying, oh, well, I had to take them back to the van and lift them out.
North Wales.
Oh, very good. So the manual lifting sling is just a way of getting more people to lift them so that you can lift a slightly bigger weight if you aren't able to hoist them for adventurous stuff. And actually Beck's my adult client that I work with as a physio. We use this. She's about 38 kilos. We use this with three of us lifting her into a hot tub because she really likes going in a hot tub. And we've risk assessed it. People who are pregnant don't do the lift. The lady with the dodgy ankle doesn't do it. She's in the water. But actually it means that Bex can still enjoy something that she finds most of the time immensely pleasurable, unless I'm in there doing some physio with her, and then she's not so happy. She likes it if I just go and sit and chat to her. So the manual lifting slings are another good way, because the thing it changes is the staff's posture, so that they can be in a better, stable position to bring them up. I've used these sort of for all sorts of weird and wonderful things, like where children are going on school trips, and the school won't buy a specialist bus in with a wheelchair lifting it because all the kids are going. And then there's this thing where do the children go in a taxi on their own and miss out of that peer fun on the coach? Parents take them. And schools forget that parents become members of staff as soon as that from an insurance point of view. They think it's a nice way around it and there's no responsibility, but they forget that they've...
one of these to put a young man with muscular dystrophy Duchenne who was on palliative care.
Yeah.
It was his last school trip as far as we knew.
Yeah.
So me and the O2 risk assessed him going on to a Canadian canoe, which was hilarious. And we did end up soaked, and he loved it.
That's it. It's got to be fun.
10 years later.
We shouldn't be...
Yeah.
But we shouldn't be... I think there's this thing where we sort of always put barriers in the way from people enjoying themselves, and we shouldn't be. We should be giving them...
very much, oh, he can't do it.
Yeah.
And me and the OT were like, he can.
He can. Because we've got a piece of equipment.
I'm game for it.
Yeah, it is. And I think, you know, I think people would look as lifting Bex in and out of the hot tub. It's not the prettiest thing. It's not the most elegant. But it gets her in and out. We're safe. Nobody's dropped her. We haven't hurt ourselves. So... Yeah. And if they did, then maybe I would have another discussion about what we're doing. So this is I have got lots of favourite pieces of equipment. So I'm always thinking moving and handling and therapy. And sort of kind of, when I'm delivering training, it's about actually, whether it's my school staff that I'm delivering to, I'm trying to get them to think about therapy activities as well, without them thinking they're doing therapy. And I'm also thinking for therapists is that we need to improve our handling, because therapists are a bit naughty and we take a lot of risks. And I know as I'm getting older that things are harder. I can't squeeze the buckles on wheelchairs in the same way that I used to be. So one of the issues that I have had a big problem with in our schools is children on wedges and going prone. So I know prone's been a thing from this conference because of COVID. So pre-COVID, I'd spoken to Lee at GB UK and had said, I want you to come to one of our schools and see the effort we have to, because I know they do the proning thing for theatres, see the effort we have to put into getting somebody onto a wedge. So there's a young man, he's about 6 foot, he's an ironing board and his arms are stuck here, but he loves going on his tummy. And the staff are really good and they persevere and put him on his tummy, but it's taken 4 of them to basically hoik him over. So Lee came out to the school, had a look at some of the students going prone. I was asking him if he could design some sort of wedge with slidey bits on it. But anyway, this is what he came up with, and it's brilliant. I haven't actually put anybody on a wedge yet, but I have put somebody on their bed, which I'll tell you about in a minute. But what we do is you put that on your wedge, you hoist them down onto the edge of the wedge, because obviously we need room to roll. Somebody will still be managing the arms and the heads to get them over. And if this, I think we could do it with 2 staff, you could do it. And then all you do is you hold your handles, and then because it's slidey, you can slide them back to the middle, and then he's over the wedge.
We use 2 wedges.
Yeah, I do. To roll, especially if we're rolling off.
Especially with the big adults.
Yeah. So let me just. So this is honestly, it's brilliant. So I'm going to show you now with not a Norris. Would somebody like to just come and lie on my B assist? Would somebody like?
I don't know how it feels. Went that way.
Yeah. So and just your shoulders sort of kind of off the top. That's it. So. If there were 2 of us, obviously that person could pass that over to me. You might want to put your arms up. And that one as well, yeah. Okay, so all I'm going to do is just pull over. You can do it fast, you can do it slow. And then obviously if I want to take her back, I then use that side and roll her back. So.
They had an exhibition in the main plenary yesterday when they were doing the intensive care, and they had these big blow-up.
Yeah.
I mean, why don't they just use that instead?
Because that wasn't designed for that. What those blow-up things weren't for rolling. It was just an aside.
It was.
Yeah.
But there's the other one they were doing. Cornish pasty.
Yeah. So anyway, there's one here. There's one there. Have a go at rolling one another just to see how easy it is. Because it's easy. It's lovely, isn't it?
Yeah.
Like,
It still needs that amount of room though on the wedge.
it's the wedges the problem. The wedges are still the problem.
I would like to. It was made of like proning in bed.
Okay. Right.
Obviously, I can't say that.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's still the width of the wedge, isn't it? And they all take to come out to standard width.
Sandra, it was made for proning in bed originally. That was the idea. So they do use it for that as well.
I was going to say. So I'm literally,
Yeah.
and I can use
Yeah.
maybe kind of fun just to sit down. Yeah. Oh, I'd have to shuffle, wouldn't it? I'm thinking about not overreaching as well.
But you could just, shuffle as you go.
So she'll want that side to pull about. Sorry.
Silly. Do you want to unroll that so she can like, oh no, you're on it, you see? That's another thing.
Don't matter, because she'll be not on it when she's.
Right, which way would you want? So who supply them?
GB UK. They're in the rotunda.
Right, okay. What is it?
It's my new favourite thing.
Yeah.
My new.
Even with the 2 wedges,
Yeah.
it's still taking 2 people to kind of.
Yeah. And then if you think about the width you've got with your wedges, that will allow you to.
What are they calling it?
B assist. And they are single patient use. I mean, we were saying in schools it won't really matter for us because we don't have infection control issues like hospitals do. So we'd probably just write the kid's name on it, date that they got it, and it would sit in their drawer and it'd be used for them. So do you guys want to try it but don't want to be in the film? Do you want to go over there? I'm not saying you might want to be in the film, but...
That's the difficulties in school when it's a single patient issue. Oh, so good. Yeah, I'll take it. So good. She's a little bit higher, so your shoulders.
Yeah, so your shoulders are off the top.
Like a spatial awareness.
Oh!
It's just about where they're on.
Yeah. You'd been a lot of the children, their tone would be there. Yeah.
Then come in and start working. However you get.
But I was going to say, even that is better than what they do now with the whole.
His arm under the chest and get the
doesn't make it more of an issue, is it?
No. So I'm going to tell you the story about it in proper use, not with just practice. We've lost one of our ladies. She's disappeared. No, there was another lady that wasn't doing any of the practical bits, so she's disappeared. But never mind. So, have you all had a go? Are you happy with that? So, B, assist. That's right, isn't it? B, assist. Take a picture of it. My new favourite thing. My new favourite thing. It used in real life. So again, I've got this adult client, Bex, who's got cerebral palsy, athetoid CP, so that means that she's on the go all the time. So my physio is very limited to stretching her, basically, and a bit of rolling on the floor. I can't do much. She's an adult. It's very difficult to do physio. But I want her prone because she's got tight hips. So we've tried her on her tummy, on the floor, hated it. Her athetoid movements went through the roof. So I'd got this and I thought I'll take it for my physio session and see if she's up for a bit of a play, because she quite likes a bit of adventure. So at the end, and one of her PAs is a beauty therapist and does arm massages on her, but said I would love to be able to massage her back, because it would just, be so nice, something to do when I'm on shift for her. So we profiled her bed, we did the knee break up, but nothing else. Put that on the bed, hoisted her onto the bed on the side and rolled her with that really easily. I did it on my own. I didn't need the PAs, whereas normally there's two of them. Because of her shape and her movements, it's usually two of us to roll her.
Tucks you in, doesn't it?
Tucks you in. So we rolled her over, arms then forward, sort of off the end of the knee break. She was actually, this was what was amazing, because she's normally to the right hand side, she was actually able to lift her head and turn it. So that was good for her. She actually was some extensor activity. She never does that. So she was able to turn her head, but she stayed there for 15 minutes, and I kept saying, and her athetoid movements, are you okay, Bex? Okay, she nods. Okay. So we've now decided that I will leave one with them. I'll train the staff how to use it. So if Jo is on shift, she can give her a massage, but actually she's also then doing some nice physio as well. So so I'm going to leave one with her and do it, because and she just, it was, I can't tell you how easy.
Thought process of actually, I've used wedges for a long time as a kid, and that, I don't really like being on a wedge.
Yeah.
I'm on my bed though.
Yeah. I'm on a grown-up.
I'm chilled, I'm on
Yeah.
my bed, it's fine.
So the other thing I do with her as well, and again, it's just sort of kind of thinking about therapeutic handling, is the Goldman multi-support sling. So I've had the benefit of being able to use one of their lockable training modules where I live. And we took her for a physio session because, like I said, she wants adventure. She likes going out. She wants a bit of adventure. So we use this under a bum to get her doing. So I bent her knees up, put her feet flat on the bed, and got her doing some bum lifts with the lockable module. So that was giving her some feedback. I was only having to just sort of kind of almost poke my fingers under her bum to make her go. I can't do that normally because I'm trying to control her legs. And then I have to lift her with my hands if I want her to initiate. And it's hard work, I can't do it. I can manage one or two, and then I'm thinking, do you know what, this is breaking me, it's not actually achieving much for you. So we've had the benefit of using the lockable system, but then they gave us a disposable one, and we've taken it home, and I'm just using it with her hoist normally. And we're doing bum lifts, and then I'm putting a leg in it, and so she's doing some old-fashioned sling suspension therapy, but swinging her legs around and doing stuff. Do you know, it's the doing stuff.
Have you got a functional goal linked to that then for us? Yeah.
I have, to decrease her athetoid movements and to get her head more midline and to stop her pelvis on the right side protracting as much. And she has two separate foot blocks on her wheelchair, little foot cups. And her right leg often comes out like that, and her foot is over the edge of the foot block. Since we've been doing a bit more intense physio, this leg is staying in the foot block. So I'm not going to change her. I'm not going to cure her. I'm not going to get her to walk. I'm realistic about that. And I keep saying to her, "Are you sure you want to see me every week? Because I don't really know what." But she loves it. She loves doing it because it's different. It's entertainment. There is entertainment because there's always a story about something. I mean, she drools a bit, and they call her Sylvia. So when she drools, they'll say, "Sylvia's visiting. Quick, let's get Sylvia." And her team have a brilliant rapport with her. So that's really good for bum lifts, doing sling suspension stuff. Just again, another quick. What are we doing what's the time?
Just gone
So that's at the end of our session, isn't it? We're meant to finish at 1:15. Very quickly, I don't know where I've put it now, is just again a thought about therapy. And this, honestly, he's got nappies in here. Do you know, I nearly got caught short on the motorway the other day. It shut for 3 hours, and I was like, I really need a wee. I'm going to have to go and get one of my nappies out. I didn't in the end. Luckily, I was okay. It did start moving. This was a bit of a, oh, that's my address. Oh, it's there. This was a bit of a by accident thing as well. So I've got, again, another young adult, lives in supported living. When COVID, they stopped me going. I'd normally do physio on the floor with him in the lounge, and it was always difficult, but I could get around him. So it's kind of, I could work with him. But then they were like, well, you could come back in, but you're going to have to do it in his bed. And I was like, I can't climb into bed with him. He's in his 30s. That just is not appropriate. He doesn't really like physio, and then he wasn't in the bed in the right position, so I used the slide sheet that was in his cupboard, and I just put it under him, and he's also got a sleep system, so I blocked his pelvis with two sides of the sleep system. I was messing at this point, and then I thought, let's just see if I can, because he's got a very tight trunk. He goes that way, actually. I thought, I wonder if I can stretch him effectively. So I just put my hands on top of the slide sheet and just pushed him across, and I got this beautiful elongation. And he always, whenever he hears my voice, he does a because that's about the only noise he makes. But he laughs, apparently. I've never seen him laugh. So then I was doing this. They then got one of the team, and she came and stood on the other side. So we were doing a me to you, swishing him backwards and forwards. I got a smile. For the first time in 4 years, I got a smile from him. So again, a really nice one. If you teach in therapy staff, get them thinking about the moving and handling equipment that they can use to do some of their therapy.
It's the sort of thing we do in the pool
Yeah,
all the time,
seaweeding, exactly. So, I mean, the other thing is, if I might have, with the little ones, I might get hold of the legs and just, again, coming back to my school staff.
Hold the pelvis, because they're bonus.
Coming back to my school staff, though, these are little things that they can do that are easy to do. They're doing therapy without knowing they're doing therapy. They're having a play. And then just the one last thing, because it is 1:15. I can't believe how quickly half an hour goes. Is think about your staff in terms of seating. So it's a bit dodgy today. It doesn't want to ratchet, but it's a little floor chair. So children that might be doing long leg sitting programs with the staff in school, is that you can give them, they can sit, child between their legs. Now I know this doesn't wipe clean, so you would be considering. But there is a company that make like little hard school plastic chairs without any legs, and they stack. And so we've got some of those in our schools, and they sit and do their therapy programs. And actually, oh, do you? Do you?
Yeah.
For the children or for the staff?
Children.
Yeah.
Yeah, that's quite nice.
Yeah.
Because you don't have to have somebody behind them.
No. No.
That works quite nicely.
They're very expensive, aren't they?
No.
Are they not? What?
No,
How much?
120 quid, Scarlett.
Yeah, well, these are 30. You see, it is that thing. If you've got schools that are willing to pay it, great. But you know the thing they say. Oh, how much does it cost? So anyway, any questions? Any burning questions? Thank you. We finished. We finished.
Great, thank you.
Whistle stop. Floor work.